What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 407 of AskGSM here today for Wednesday, September 15, 2021. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week. And what a week it's been. I mean, we got a new WWE champion. His name is Biggie. Great moment to close out Raw on Monday. But a big week for the channel as well. If you're not already subscribed, first of all, what the hell are you waiting for? Do it right now. But over the last week, I was able to attend SmackDown on Friday, got a lot of great live reaction videos from that show, all of which are now up here on the channel as of Saturday. Go back and check that stuff out. And not only in the last couple of days have we had one, but rather two exclusive interviews go up here on the channel in the last 24 hours alone. Yesterday was with NXT superstar Frankie Monet, who unfortunately had her match cut from NXT this week for the NXT Women's Championship with Raquel Gonzalez. I have no idea why they did not announce that in advance, that the match would not be happening, but I guess that's the new NXT 2.0, right? But speaking of NXT 2.0, we spoke a lot about that, her current run in NXT, and so much more in a great interview yesterday. And then today here on the channel, you can check out my exclusive chat with the new WWE champion, Biggie. Now, it's the fourth time I've spoken to Biggie in like over a year. I spoke to him in August of last year. I spoke to him around WrestleMania time this year. We spoke to him right after he won Money in the Bank a few months ago. And we just spoke to him the morning right after he became WWE champion, that being yesterday. And the interview went up today in audio form here on the channel and in article form on Bleacher Report. As of this video going up, it's probably been posted, deleted, reposted. The video itself is fine, but annoys the hell out of me that I can't show. You probably saw it, but when I put up the Biggie interview originally, if you were quick to check it out or see it in your descriptions or whatever, there's no thumbnail available. And I tried everything to change it, and like not even in the actual video itself, without even uploading a custom thumbnail, you can use a video, like a clip or a screenshot from the video. You can't even do that. I tried it on my laptop, I tried it on my phone, and I just gave it the fuck up. So I need a thumbnail for the video, which unfortunately means I have to delete the video and then go back and re-upload it. It's a pain in the ass. Hopefully it works. Fingers crossed. YouTube's screwing me over today. But at least the video's up for now. The reposted video is probably up by now as well. But be sure to check that out when you get a chance. But nonetheless, let's get right into today's question, starting with No L from YouTube. Their first question was, who do you think had the better heel run in WWE? Heel Stone Cold or the American Badass, The Undertaker? Good question. It was right around the same time, right? I mean, Stone Cold turned heel in 2001, and the American Badass heel persona run kind of came around in 2000, 2001, 02. Those are the prime years of heel Undertaker in my mind before he went back to being a babyface by 03, 04. Of the two, honestly, I got to give it to Taker. I think Taker had a better heel run. Maybe not better matches, because Stone Cold had some great matches while he was WWE champion in 01. The first one being with The Rock at WrestleMania 17, but in the months that followed with Jericho, Benoit, Angle, among others, Steve Austin had a great heel run. The problem was that he just should not have been a heel. It's like the Becky Lynch thing now. It was fucking dumb to turn him heel, let alone in his hometown, but just in general. For business, it was a dumb decision. And he's just, at that point, he's a great heel. He wanted to go heel, a lot like Becky Lynch, to avoid feeling stagnant. But as a character, it just wasn't the right time. I got to go with Taker, though. I feel like Taker had a lot of, breakout, moments and matches as a heel, put a lot of people over as a heel. The Jeff Hardy match comes to mind. I think I did a whole article about a year and a half ago for Bleacher Report ranking like the top 5 or 7 matches of the American Badass, The Undertaker. The Brock match is definitely topped the list. I think that was when he was a babyface at that point, which would have been in late 2002. But yeah, he was a face by that point. But just heel Taker in general, we didn't see it too often. He was a heel when he first came into the company. But like at least when he went heel, it wasn't like, oh, what a dumb business move. It really reinvented his character, and it was such a different, incarnation of the Taker character from what we were seeing previously prior to that point. So if you make an argument for heel Stone Cold, I totally get it because he had better matches probably overall in that 7 or 8 month stretch than Taker did over the course of a year or two. But Taker had some pretty decent matches, and he put over a fair amount of people, and the babyfaces benefited from working with him. Again, he was kind of a babyface by WrestleMania 17. So I guess the heel American Badass run really didn't last that long. He was American Badass for a while, but I think he was more of a face throughout that than he was a heel. Like he was a heel in 02, and he took part in that amazing triple threat match at Vengeance 02 with Rock and Kurt Angle, right, in the middle of the summer in 02, right before he lost the championship on that show to The Rock, who then lost it to Brock. I'm going to go with heel Taker, though. Heel Stone Cold was great, don't get me wrong, and he was very entertaining alongside Kurt Angle. But at the same time, I just thought it was a dumb decision. I wasn't watching at that point, but when you go back and listen to the reactions, it didn't exactly do the product a lot of good to have Stone Cold as a heel at that point in time. No second question here, before they have Facebook questions as well. Who do you see as Edge's top 5 rivals in WWE? I'm sure this has been answered before. I don't know if I've talked about it here on the show in the 400-plus episodes that we've done. There's a lot. I don't know if, and in no particular order, I would put John Cena on there, obviously. I would put Taker on there most definitely. Taker and Edge had some great matches. Really, that was what got me into SmackDown. When I started watching wrestling consistently in April of 2008, I was only watching Raw for probably about a month, right before I got into SmackDown. But when I got into SmackDown, it was the Edge and Taker feud. And it kept me watching. I thought the Edge and Taker feud was booked brilliantly. It was right around the time they had that TLC match, a one-night stand that Edge won. Taker comes back, beats him at Hell in the Cell, or at SummerSlam inside Hell in the Cell, sends him to hell. Like, it's all goofy shit in retrospect, but I thought it was the coolest fucking thing, and I really loved their feud and all their matches that they had during that time period. So, Edge and Taker for sure. Edge and Cena is probably number 1. That was the feud that really put Edge on the map as a main event single star at that point. Randy Orton probably as well. The match at WrestleMania 36 wasn't the greatest, but I thoroughly enjoyed the Backlash match last year. They had matches in 2004 over the Intercontinental Championship. They had matches in 2010. And I thought Edge and Orton rather, had some of the best segments and promos in all of WWE in 2020 early on, right before the pandemic hit. So I got to put Orton on that list as well. Beyond them, I'm trying to think. Cena, Taker. I don't know if I'd put Christian on there. Their feud wasn't really drawn out, and I don't know if I would put him among his greatest rivals. Matt Hardy, probably. I mean, they had a pretty intense feud. Didn't exactly end in Matt's favor. They had a pretty memorable, intense feud back in 2005, so I would put that on there. Batista's got to be on that list. I mean, him and Batista traded that World Heavyweight Championship back and forth God knows how many times between 2007 and 2008. I don't know if they feuded at all in 2009. I don't think so. So probably those 4, and then I would probably say Jeff Hardy. Just not only through the Edge and Christian tag team matches, but the matches that they had. I think Jeff Hardy's first match back in WWE in 2006 was against Edge. And not only that, but they had matches on SmackDown over the World Heavyweight Championship. Hardy lost the WWE Championship to Edge, or he actually beat Edge for the WWE title at Armageddon 2008 in that triple threat with Triple H. But they had a couple of matches that year. They were always really intense. So my list would probably be, in no particular order, like I said. Cena would probably be number 1 if I had to take a guess. If I really had to choose and rank them. Cena would be 1, but the rest would include Taker, Batista, Jeff Hardy, and who is the other person? Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy, Cena, Batista, and Taker. I'm trying to think if there was anyone else during that period that Edge really had a great, memorable feud with that would crack the top 5. Him and Roman have had some good stuff this year. I've really enjoyed his stuff with Seth Rollins. I wouldn't put them in the top 5 quite yet, but I've enjoyed both feuds and matches. Edge has been doing some great in-ring work this year. I'm trying to think beyond that, though. In 2008, 2009, he was kind of feuding with the same people. By 2010, 2011, he was gone. Del Rio, not at all. Kane, not really. 2006, Triple H, not really. Ric Flair, no. It probably would be those 5, so that's the 5 that I would stick with. Speaking of no L, let's get to their Facebook questions here, from Facebook, obviously. Let's see. Their first question was, do you think for AEW's New York show, they should announce a Brody Lee tournament or battle royal? So I'm not sure which New York show you're talking about, because they have obviously the Grand Slam show coming up at Arthur Ashe Stadium next Wednesday in New York City itself. And then from what I understand, unless I'm wrong about this, what I had read somewhere online, was that they're doing a show in Brody Lee's hometown. God, what was it called? I don't remember. But it was the town they were supposed to be in for Brody Lee's debut. It wasn't Yonkers. That's Tommy Dreamer. It was something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to remember as soon as the video's over. But I think they're supposed to be there for an AEW show at the end of the month. Maybe it's Rampage or maybe it's just Dynamite. I don't remember. Absolutely, though. I think it's inevitable. I mean, as we come up on the 1-year anniversary of his passing, I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. A Battle Royal would be fine. I would do an AEW TNT Championship Invitational, where the winner of that tournament, because Miro doesn't really have any opponents right now. He's kind of, sort of still feuding with Eddie Kingston. He has some issues, I would suppose, with Sammy Guevara over the Fuego del Sol stuff. I would still do a tournament. I think that'd be cool. It would kill some television time, get some matches. We had a tournament in the first place to crown the first ever AEW TNT champion, and we haven't had... I mean, they did a women's tournament earlier this year, but I can't remember the last time they did a tournament in AEW. It was probably recently, and I'm just not remembering. But I would do one again. I would bring it back now that we have fans back and call it the Brody Lee Invitational. Have the winner face Miro for the AEW TNT Championship. Their second question was, do you see Kofi finally turning heel because of Biggie winning the WWE Championship? No, I don't. I really don't. It's funny you mention that because we talked about that in the interview today, me and Big E. And I was still seeing people talk about on Monday, oh, maybe the New Day is going to turn heel on Big E tonight. We've come this far, and never say never. I know it's professional wrestling. But these guys have made it, they have been extremely adamant. They have made it extremely clear, abundantly clear, they are not going to split up. They might be on separate shows and do their own thing, but they're not going to have a guy turn on the other. Because as Big E mentioned in the interview, then what? What the fuck do you do then? Xavier Woods is done for. And he's really good. I don't want Woods to get lost in the shuffle on the undercard of Raw or SmackDown. Kofi and Big E are great, and I think Big E on his own obviously proved he could be something, and Kofi on his own was always fun too. But there's just no need to. I could do without all the 6-man tag team matches the New Day was having before they went on their separate shows, before they went on their own. I could do without that every single week. And some of the New Day stuff in general I think could be toned down. But I don't think we need to see them split up. I was pitching that 2 years ago, but that was before they made it pretty clear that they're just never going to split up, and that's perfectly fine. I thought we would see Kofi turn on, or rather Big E turn on Kofi when Kofi was champion 2 years ago. I think someone pitched it. They didn't do it. They're not going to do it. We've come this far. I think the company's realized, okay, we're not going to turn him heel. And not only that, I mean, the way that you're saying it means that we could see it at any point in the future. Like, we could see it down the road. We could see it depending on how long Big E is champion for. If it's going to happen, it's not going to be anytime soon, but even then, I still wouldn't do it. I mean, they're involved in that Netflix promotional special, the interactive horror special with The Undertaker. The whole New Day is. That's a pretty big deal. You're not going to split them up before that, and that's in like 3 or 4 weeks. Beyond that, they've had books, they've had cookbooks, they've had merchandise. I mean, you name it. These guys are all over the fuck everything that WWE does. The promotional material, they're still very over. They get great reactions. They sell well. Why would you ruin that? I mean, yeah, they are stale to a certain extent, but I mean, when you're together for 7 years or whatever it is, I mean, that's kind of to be expected, right? But still, I think there's no real reason to break them up. I don't think they're breaking up. I don't think we're ever going to get that. And as cool as it would be to see Kofi, I mean, you could still even do that with... You could even say Big E, hey, Big E can say, hey, I want to give Kofi a title shot, and then we can get that as a pay-per-view main event. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think anyone has to turn heel. Because again, if you turn him heel, then what? Big E's kind of on his own. They can all do their own thing. But I think it just makes more sense to keep them together, to be honest. We've reached the point now where it would be silly to do anything different with them. Thomas B., also from Facebook, do you think heels like Adam Cole shouldn't try to pamper the crowd, like in their entrances, and purposely try to make them hate them instead? And should try to make them hate them instead. Absolutely. I'm always a big proponent of that. I love Adam Cole. When I go to the AEW shows, you know goddamn well I'm going to cheer Adam Cole. But that was a criticism of Cole dating back to his NXT days, where him and the Undisputed Era, they're the cool heels. You can't always be the cool heels. We had that with the NWO 25 years ago. Like, at a certain point, you got to start getting great heat. MJF, rarely crosses the line, but for the most part, he gets great reactions and he gets great heel heat because he doesn't ponder, he doesn't endear himself to the audience in any form or fashion. Doesn't look for cheers, doesn't, even if he says something funny like the Metheny line, which was fucking hilarious if you watch the Dark Side of the Ring from last year, even then it still makes me want to boo him, kind of play along and do what they want me to do. Like at AEW All Out, the audience is so they will cheer or boo at this point for whoever AEW wants them to cheer or boo for the most part. Like 95% of the roster gets the desired reaction because AEW is well aware of who people want to cheer for and who they want to boo for and who they want to boo. You know what I mean? So, at any rate, as far as Adam Cole goes, he absolutely should be doing more to elicit genuine heat. The Elite don't do enough of that sometimes. They get good heat, and they got great heat at All Out when we were there, and the Bucks are genuinely hated, but they're just too fucking goofy. That's not the problem that you're referring to, but as many other people have mentioned, I don't mind the Elite stuff. I generally like it for the most part. I don't think we need all the Bullet Club drama in AEW. I think it's kind of isolates and alienates fans who don't give a fuck about that type of stuff. But they need to tone down the goofy shit. I don't think that's getting any real heat, like the basketball stuff. Once in a while, it's funny, but most of the time, it just kind of seems like they're just having fun, but it's not really serving a purpose, and it's stupid, and it takes away from the show. But guys like them, guys like Cole, I'm not sure what other examples there are. There probably is, but they should be doing more to get real heat from the audience and not play into those cheers that they're getting, because it effectively turns them face. So at that point, what's the point? And it really hurts the baby faces as well. Britt Baker's another one. She's not really doing anything overly heelish right now. I love Britt Baker. She wants to play to the audience in Pittsburgh. I get it. Everywhere else where she's telling them to do the DMD and shit, and she's basically a baby face. She is not doing anything to rag on the audience, which is what she was doing, which is how she got so great in the first place, because when she first turned heel about a year and a half ago in early 2020, she was ragging on the audience or ragging on Tony Schiavone. She's not doing that anymore. If they're turning her face, then I get it, but if not, it's kind of stupid. So let's go to the Twitter questions here. Got to pull them up. I think at Iwagu 71, or and Iwagu 91. My apologies. Was the first one to send in questions, and they were. So their first question was, do you think that Matt Sydal versus Pac should have happened on Dynamite or Rampage instead of Dark? Yeah, so that match was given away on Dark, like, right before All Out. I think I remember writing that in my review on WrestleRant.com, like, why the fuck are we... I don't get it. Like, why are we getting this match on Dark and not on Dynamite? If you gave him more time, it probably would have been an even better match. I mean, I'm fine with them giving matches like that away on Dark, because Dark needs some attractions, too. And Matt Sydal isn't a Dynamite guy, really. I like Matt Sydal a lot, but if you want to do a Matt Sydal on Dark, I'm not complaining. So if you built it up a little bit more, it didn't really bother me that much that it was on Dark. It ended up being a good match. I think my biggest problem was that it wasn't really given a lot of time to be what it could have been. But I still enjoyed it for what it was. At Iwagu91's second question, considering the champion versus champion match that happens at Survivor Series, do you think that among the reasons Biggie won the WWE title off of Bobby Lashley was because of said match that'll ensue in 2 months and to prevent heel versus heel and happening at the pay-per-view? I don't think that was part of the reason at all. I think they wanted to keep the belt on Roman Reigns. They don't want to take the belt off of him. They didn't want to have Biggie cash in unsuccessfully, which would have been fucking stupid. They wanted Raw to have a real spark, because Raw's been awful for a while now. I mean, it didn't pop a rating. The ratings went down, but Monday Night Football, I mean, with how bad the show is, I really can't say I'm surprised. Overall, it's been a very bad show for a very long time, so I can't say I'm shocked. But it made for a great moment at the end. It kind of spices some things up. I'm curious to see where they'll go from here with the WWE title picture. It gets the New Day back on the same show. Rumors already indicated for months that Big E was on his way back to Raw, so I don't think the Survivor Series thing had anything to do with it, especially when you consider the whole heel versus heel thing. They did a heel versus heel champion versus champion match at Survivor Series 2018 with Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar, and it was one of the best matches of the fucking year, so I don't really think that makes much of a difference. We were supposed to get it last year with Roman and Orton lost the belt right back to Drew, like the Monday before the pay-per-view. So that never ended up happening. We probably got other champion, heel versus heel. We definitely have. We've had other heel versus heel, champion versus champion matches at Survivor Series. It's not always going to be a perfect face versus heel dynamic. But I am glad it's kind of the best of both worlds. Because I wanted Big E and Roman at some point. That was who I wanted Big E to cash in on, let's say, come WrestleMania. I don't think they're getting The Rock for Mania. I don't. Something might change. They could say that all they want. They've wanted The Rock for fucking 5 or 6 years. I don't think they're getting The Rock this year. Maybe the following year we'll see. But even then, I just feel like, I don't know if that ship has sailed, but we'll see. I would have loved to have seen Big E cash in on Roman at WrestleMania, win, get that great reaction, that big fight feel like we had with Kofi and Bryan a few years ago, But it's fine. So we're not getting that because Big E cashed in on Lashley. But we are getting Big E and Roman still at Survivor Series. It's not going to be for a championship. Likely. Likely, because we didn't have the champion versus champion stuff 2 years ago. We got it last year, but 2 years ago when NXT was involved, they just did title matches. Like they had an NXT title match, they had a WWE title match, and they had a Universal title match. They might do that again this year, probably without NXT involved. They might do that again this year, and I hope not. Honestly, I don't really love the brand supremacy stuff at all, especially if there's nothing at stake. Like, who cares at that point? But I really do think that a Roman Reigns and Big E match would be an awesome attraction for that pay-per-view, so fingers crossed that we get it. His third question, do you think that Buddy Matthews, a.k.a. Murphy from WWE, would be a great addition to Impact Wrestling's X Division? I do, and I've said this before, I like Murphy a lot, I'm a big fan of his. I just feel like at this point in time, with the roster that AEW has, he would absolutely be lost in the shuffle. So I think a place like a Ring of Honor or an Impact, which I think he mentioned in that interview with Chris Van Vliet about a month or so ago, he would be interested in going to either one of those places. I think he's free and clear to do so. The 90-day no-compete is up, so we really could show up any of those places anytime he wants. Ring of Honor would be great, but yeah, that X Division is on fucking fire right now. I mean, it's not exactly what it was in like 02, 03, obviously, or 05 or whatever. But it's as close as it's probably ever going to get. I've been following Impact for over a decade now, and this is probably the hottest that division has ever been. Josh Alexander is a fucking star. He's been a great champion. I love Ace Austin. I'm not the biggest TJP fan, but even when he's been involved in the mix, like that Iron Man match that he and Josh Alexander had a couple of months ago, was great. He's been having some kick-ass matches too. Also in the X Division, they've had... Jake Something's been involved a little bit lately. Rohit Raju was having a great run there for a while late last year before he dropped the belt. They had Suicide in the mix for a while. I don't know what happened to him or who was playing Suicide, but yeah, he was involved in the mix for a while. Chris Bay is awesome. He's also involved in there. Petey Williams is great to see back. So among many other people. Yeah, I'm loving the X Division right now. A Buddy Matthews versus Josh Alexander match for Bound for Glory sounds fucking sick. I think we're still going to get Josh Alexander and Christian Cage at Bound for Glory, I think. But I think a Buddy Matthews and Josh match, Josh Alexander that is, not Josh Matthews, for Bound for Glory for that title would be absolutely amazing. And maybe that can pave the way for Josh Alexander to enter the world title contention scene. At Supersonic X 1991, what are your thoughts on Biggie cashing in on Raw to become WWE champion? I say it's a good idea, and it's pretty much a change that Raw needs. Well, I just got done saying the same thing, but yeah, it's a change that Raw needs. I don't love the idea of Biggie being on Raw just because, like, Biggie was the one guy on SmackDown that Roman hasn't feuded with, and they sent him to Raw before that feud could really happen. And like I said, we could still get the feud in time for Survivor Series, but it's not the same if they're not on the same show. So Raw needs some fresh faces right now. I like Drew a lot. I love Drew, but he's been in that title picture for a year and a half. You're not going to put him back in there anytime soon. I love Lashley, but you need more stars beyond that. Kofi, been there, done that. Orton, I really don't have any interest in that. Goldberg, fuck no. So you need someone like a Big E to kind of fill that void. And obviously there's people that could fill that void that they're just not doing anything with. But Big E's one of those guys they've actually booked fairly well for the last year or two. Ever since he broke off on his own, he's been perfectly booked for the most part. So him becoming WWE champion makes perfect sense to me. I love the moment. I was a little surprised he actually did it because they were teasing it so much. I honestly thought it wasn't going to happen. So when it did, I was very pleasantly surprised. I love that. I did think it was a good idea. The more I think about it now, I'm super happy for him. He absolutely fucking deserves it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next on Raw, which is something, I don't normally say that. I haven't said that in a long time, but I am curious. I mean, it probably is going to remain as bad as it's been for a while. No shit. But as far as Big E goes, I am curious as to what they have in mind for him next, if anything. They probably just put the belt on and are planning it out as they go, because that's typical WWE. At Supersonic X 1991's second question. What are your thoughts on the creepy Charlie doll? Do you think this is the final nail in the coffin for the Raw women's division? The Charlie stuff didn't really bother me. I don't think it has anything to do with Charlie Caruso, for those wondering. Even if it does, who cares? No, the final nail in the coffin for that division was the whole Alexa Bliss bullshit with the supernatural garbage. I like Alexa Bliss a lot, but the actual supernatural shit is just terrible. The Nikki Ash shit is terrible. So with Alexa Bliss, though, I'm going to say this. The Charlie doll was whatever, and honestly, it looked more like Ric Flair than it did Charlotte, as mean as that is to say. But the segment itself, I gotta be honest with you, that was probably the best thing I had seen Alexa Bliss involved in all year. As sad as that sounds, because the bar is very low, I actually enjoyed what they did with Alexa Bliss on Raw this Monday. They didn't have any supernatural bullshit. They did the whole fucking doll thing, which I'm sure there's going to be follow-up on that this coming week on Raw. But like, there was no supernatural garbage. They just had the two brawl. Alexa Bliss had some choice words for her, and that was it. And I thought it was really well done. They had Alexa Bliss standing tall over Charlotte to make her look like a threat, because she could very well win the championship in the next pay-per-view. I thought it was well done. The less of the supernatural bullshit, the better. And it's one thing, you might be thinking, why The Fiend and not Alexa Bliss? Because it just doesn't fucking work with this character. Like, The Fiend is one thing, and even then I was a little like, when they went overboard with The Fiend shit, I'm like, okay, this is dumb. They go way overboard with the Alexa Bliss Lily garbage. The Lily shit is just terrible. It's terrible. The matches aren't very good either. And it's not her fault, but it's what they're having her do. So, it only works for certain people. Bray Wyatt was one of them. Alexa Bliss, I think the creepy character is cool, and if she keeps doing what she did on Monday, then I'm okay with it. But if it's more supernatural bullshit, then I think that's just, no thanks. I don't want the Raw Women's Championship involved with that bullshit. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine. Check out his YouTube show, Real Honesty with John Ritland. Does great work. His first question was, what did you think, or what do you think of AEW taping Dark at Universal Studios in front of smaller crowds? I think it's a smart move to give people experience and cut costs. I like the idea a lot. I saw Dark last night. I enjoyed it. I was always after a while, I was like, all right, TNA needs to get the fuck out of the Impact Zone. Like, we see the same people there every week. They're jaded. But the difference between this and that is that this is going to be a shorter show. It's an enhancement show. It's not like a flagship show. It's like for Impact, it was kind of sad. Like, their flagship show in the same place every week with the same fucking 10 fans that probably paid no admission was just sad. But for Dark, I think it works. I think the setup looks a lot like a performance center, fucking with all the posters and shit type setup. I think it's cool. The stage looks cool. The fans were lively. They're going to have at least some star power there. It's not going to be just like the Kylan Kings of the world. Like, they had Jade there on Tuesday. They had Orange Cassidy, among other people. And it makes the show shorter. It was like a fucking, 40, 50-minute show. It was perfect. If they could do more of that and not tape everything in front of a live crowd. Like, we went to a Rampage taping a few weeks ago in Chicago. They literally taped 2 hours of Dark matches beforehand and then 2 Dark matches afterward. That's a long fucking night. I know that's like a 3.5-hour event. It's the same thing like you would go to Raw. But when it's all squash matches, it's not exactly enthralling. So if you break it up and do it at Universal Studios, I think it's cool. I don't know how it cut costs. I mean, that's probably something just slipping my mind that you're thinking about that I'm not. In what way, I'm not sure. Probably just so they don't have the talent on the road all the time. Maybe that's what you're saying. I don't know. I'll take your word for it. And if that's what's happening here and they're cutting costs and they're giving more people experience in a platform, then I'm all for that. I think that's the perfect way to separate Elevation from Dark. If anything, I think Elevation would make more sense to be on at Universal Studios than Dark, because Elevation I thought was supposed to be of like the people that are below the people that are on Dark. That was my initial idea. That's what I thought about Elevation anyway. That's what they kind of promoted it as. It's basically the same show, so it doesn't really matter. But I do like the idea, though, and I thought night one of Dark at Universal Studios came off well on Tuesday night. His second question, now that we're a few weeks removed from the 2 NWA pay-per-views, how do you think the product is looking overall? It's fine. I haven't watched Power yet from this week. I saw the last 2 Powers, though. They were decent shows. They try to cram a lot of shit into an hour-long show, I will say that much. It was fucking ridiculous how many segments they had last week. If you include like the interviews and stuff, they don't last long, but when you try to cram that much shit into an hour show, a lot like Dynamite with 2 hours, it's just way too fucking much. I don't like that aspect of it. The product is better than it was before the 2 pay-per-views, because it seems like they're actually continuing stuff from the pay-per-views. They're not completely ignoring its existence. They have fans there. They're in the chase for now. Hopefully they stay there. And if they go back to the studio, they can hopefully have fans back in attendance there. Because the empty building shit is just not good. It makes the show even worse. So far, it's been fine. I'm not hating it. I'm not loving it. I think it's been solid. I really enjoyed the 2 pay-per-views from a few weeks ago, like you said, as we talked about a few weeks ago. But, yeah, hopefully they can maintain some sort of momentum. They haven't really had any buzz since then, unsurprisingly. They got to bring in some more people and some more names. That was really what attracted people to the original NWA when they had LA Knight, or formerly Eli Drake. They had Ricky Starks, Eddie Kingston, Wade Barrett, James Storm. And James Storm is back, but the rest of them are gone. So you kind of have to fill in that void. And they are bringing in new people. And I see more of an emphasis on the women's division, which is great. But you got to do more than that. So hopefully the product can improve in the months and weeks to come. His third question. Boy, that MJF and Brian Pillman segment, Brian Pillman Jr. segment from last week's Dynamite sure was something, wasn't it? I'm going to be honest with you. I actually really liked it. I assume that you're saying that you hated it, but for me anyway, I thought it was well done. Brian Pillman is still a work in progress, clearly in the ring, on the mic. I do think he has a lot of potential. I thought it was brilliant how Punk named or, kind of called out Linda in the front row, and I recognized her immediately. And I'm like, holy shit, that's Linda from the Brian Pillman Dark Side of the Ring special, blah, blah, blah. And then MJF kind of called back to that by picking on her in the front row. Brian Pillman came out in his hometown, got a great reaction, set up a match for the Arthur Ashe show. I think what they're doing with him works. I enjoyed what we got on Wednesday of last week with MJF and Pillman. I thought the Metheny line was fucking hilarious. I thought it was amazing. The rest of it, I mean, some people felt that it went too long, or not too long, but he went too far with whatever he said, the abortion thing. I mean, I didn't really get that sense. I feel that some people go too far with certain stuff, like the Max Caster thing I thought was just unnecessary and stupid. The MJF thing, I don't know. I don't think he went too far. I wasn't offended by that or didn't think it was offensive, but if people are, I guess. I get it. I don't know. I like the segment. You probably hated it, John, but me personally, I didn't really mind it all that much, and I thought it was solid setup for a match that we're getting next week on Dynamite at Arthur Ashe Stadium. At Richie Rich, 93_, my buddy Richie, great question here. Since no one else has asked the hard questions, what are your thoughts on the Suzuki incident? So RJ asked me about this yesterday. What's the Suzuki incident? Well, listen, I don't watch New Japan, but even I'm aware of this. With Suzuki, when he came out on Dynamite last week for his main event match against Jon Moxley, they cut off his music right before the chorus could kick in. It sounds fucking stupid that people are getting all upset about this, but it's true. It's true. It's like, I'm not sure what a good equivalent would be, but it would be like if Nakamura came down to the ring and it was in, the bridge or something, and it wasn't in the actual, that type of shit. Like it wasn't his actual song. That's what happened with Suzuki. Like they didn't get to sing the part they wanted to sing. People were looking forward to that. They fucking screwed him. And people were pissed. They did it all out because his music went on for long enough, but they didn't do it on Dynamite because they were pressed for time. Maybe it was done intentionally to set up whatever they're teasing tonight. I don't think so. I feel like it was a fuck up, and they're just kind of playing off of it, which is cool too. Probably even more impressive. But yeah, I'm not going to say, oh, it was so dumb for people to get so upset about the entrance music. If you watch the product, and listen, I don't even watch New Japan, but I saw the outrage online after people were all upset over them not playing that one line in his song. That's the whole fucking, that's what you build to with this guy. Again, I don't watch the product, and even I'm aware of that. So I can totally understand why people were upset about that, and it looks like they're going to rectify it at Arthur Ashe Stadium when he has another match. That's what it looks like is going on here. So time will tell if that's ensure the direction they're going in. But that's about it, guys, for episode 407 here today of #AskGSM for Wednesday, September 15, 2021. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Be sure to have a great week and everything else. But if you want to send in a question to the show, be sure to tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a question on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's video. So like I said earlier, guys, one quick cheap plug to kind of go full circle here. Not one, but two new interviews here on the channel from people I already talked to this summer, but they're so great, I had to talk to them again. One being Frankie Monet from Tuesday, NXT Superstar, great chat, check that out. And the other one being from today, which hopefully by this point is back up here on the channel, the new WWE champion, Biggie. Almost a half an hour of conversation, almost a half an hour of audio, and he, as expected, was fucking awesome. So be sure to check that out when you get a chance. But like I said, guys, have an awesome rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.